Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Well, concern is rising over a new COVID subvariant, which is fast becoming the dominant strain in the U.S., accounting for more than 40% of cases. This, at least according to the CDC. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Anjalee Khemlani, who has the details. Anjalee, how is this strain different from some of the others that we've seen before?
Well, let's start with what is similar about it. It is an Omicron subvariant, and that's really important to understand what we're looking at right now. So it is a different variant in the sense that it's highly transmissible. That's what's causing concerns, as you can tell, growing to 40% of cases in the past few weeks and really quickly spreading throughout the U.S. This is one of the variants that has been found in the U.S. first. So, it's been nicknamed the U.S. variant as well as Kraken. We do know that it isn't necessarily slated to be more severe than some of the other variants because Omicron in and of itself, that family, that lineage of the variants hasn't been very severe, in part because we have immunity built up over vaccinations as well as prior infection here in the U.S. But it is sort of a wait and see situation when it comes to what else we're expecting out of it. Still very new when it comes to what we know about this variant. Meanwhile, we know that it is part of the XBB family, which is, has been seen overseas as well and has been causing some rise in cases. But also we're in a situation right now in the world rather, where there is just a lot of difference in what each country is seeing. But it is so much of a concern that the World Health Organization did talk about it recently. Take a listen to what one of the experts had to say.
It does have a growth advantage above all of the other subvariants so far. We don't have any data on severity yet or on the clinical picture, but we also do not have an indication that severity has changed with XBB.1.5. But that is something that we are watching very closely through studies and experimental studies in the lab, but also in real world data.
So as you can see, still looking at more information, but as things stand right now, just a really important, concerning variant to keep an eye on right now.
And of course, we have been keeping an eye on what's been happening with China as it reduced its zero COVID policy. And we're watching also a somewhat fragmented response in the European Union to China's COVID wave. What's the latest there?
That's right, Rochelle. So we know that Italy was one of the first of the European countries to put in restrictions that inbound Chinese travelers, regardless of citizenship status, would have to get a COVID test and make sure they had a negative COVID test upon arrival. Now that has been, Italy has been pleading with these other countries to also follow suit. And yesterday there was a meeting in which a majority seemed to be on board with the idea that inbound Chinese travelers will need to at the least test negative for COVID. This is causing, of course, a little bit of consternation. China pushing back, saying that they do not want to see any of these restrictions put in place, especially as the country has just come off of a zero COVID policy and finally releasing some of the stricter mitigation measures that they have had in place. Of course, in the U.S. as well, that policy was put in place on the inbound testing. And it's something that experts on the ground have kind of criticized. If you take a look at what we have on the ground here, no other additional measures to help curb the spread. So the question is, what good will these tests do? Well, the answer is in China's not reporting and stopping reporting cases publicly for the world to know what the situation is on the ground. And so that's really the driver behind why these testing measures are being put in place globally.
Certainly that transparency key at a time like this when we're trying to get a handle on the numbers out there. Anjalee Khemlani, thank you so much.